good morning, and welcome back. It's the Vine Morning Show. Here we are on a Wednesday morning. We welcome those that are watching on our YouTube channel this morning and also on TV channel 15, cable TV channel 15. Welcome this morning. And along with Randy and Jesse, the intern. Good morning, guys.
Well, good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Jesse. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you, Randy?
All right. We got a rainy day today, don't we?
Oh, we do.
And it's cooled down a lot.
It has.
Boy, that cold front came through, and it really cooled it down. So I think the 90-degree temperatures are past us now.
I think we can.
That's over.
Yeah, I do too. I think we can turn all the air off now and open up the windows and feel that cool breeze coming in eventually.
Yeah, we've got a very special guest in studio with us today, too. And, Jesse, you've already got to meet him. And we want to say hello to an old radio friend of ours, as a matter of fact. We go way back. And back when you and I used to do secular radio years ago, Mark, at different stations, this guy was doing secular radio, too, at another station. And that's Kevin McLean.
Good morning, guys. How are you doing?
Great. Good to see you, Kevin, and welcome to the Vine.
Back in the day, I used to go by Wayne McLean.
That's right.
Wayne McLean. Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Yeah, I won't say what I went by, but
I can tell you off the air.
Yeah. Okay. But it's so great to have you in studio. We have a wonderful discussion that we're going to have this morning, and something that I think that everyone is going to be interested in learning about, whether you're Jesse's age or whether you're the age of Mark and I or somebody older. It's something that should interest all of us, and something that certainly affects us all, because it affects our future, certainly, and our eternity.
Absolutely.
And so many people have questions about Bible prophecy and about current events that are going on around us, and what it all means and how we make sense of it. And you have a long history of being a private investigator. That's what you do for a living. You're a licensed private investigator, and you've been doing it for many, many years. And you're going to take a look at many things for us this morning, Kevin, from the perspective of a private investigator. That's going to be real interesting.
Absolutely. Doing this stuff for over 23 years now. And as an investigator, we are finders of facts and seekers of truth. And we're impartial and objective when we find our facts. So the things I'm going to be presenting today is nothing about as far as guessing and putting dates on things, but it's going to be factually based, the information I'm going to be presenting to everyone. And as I was telling Mark off the air earlier, that I've been doing speaking and teachings all around the country. I think I've done 35 different states right now. And as far as presentations go, this is by far the most important presentation I'll ever give in my lifetime. And so I'm so honored to be here and to be able to share and to be able to witness. I always tell everybody around the country before I start my presentations, I always thank a special friend of mine for allowing me to be here, and that friend is God, because about 5 years ago I had to get a surgery done I didn't want to have done. It was a mastoid surgery, which means basically they cut behind your ear, they open it up where it's exposing your brain, and I had to get a new eardrum put in, and also had to put an ear canal, readjust it. But my doctor said if you wouldn't have got this surgery that you did not want to have, we wouldn't have found this mass about the size of a golf ball, which would have either gave you a brain mass or you wouldn't be here. So I know that this day and time is appointed by God to be here for this day. And there's one thing that people talk about, when you're starting to read the Bible and things like that, and it is in Ezekiel. And I cite to this because this is exactly what I'm here for today. It's Ezekiel 33, verse 6. But if the watchman see the sword come, and blow not the trumpet, and the people be not warned, if the sword come and take any person from among them, he is taken away in his iniquity. But his blood will I require at the watchman's hands. So I'm the watchman, and I'm here today to basically blow that trumpet, and to wake people up. And I truly, truly hope, because I love the fact that this is going to be on cable TV and also on YouTube, that friends of mine around the country at one time or another, because I know a lot of people all over the country that maybe at one time that this is going to help them when that point in time comes. They're going to say, hey, what about this or what about that? Because everything I'm going to share today is not by conjecture or speculation or anything like this. It's factually based information that I'm going to share with you. So I really am honored to be here.
What I'd like to do too, Randy and Kevin, is later on, after Kevin talks for a while, is open up the phone lines and let people call in. And if you have a question for Kevin, we encourage you to think of one and then call in and ask.
Absolutely. So if you are thinking about something along this line, and you have a question that you've been wondering about for a long time, it's something you'd like to put to Kevin this morning, you're welcome to call in later on when we do open the phone lines. And, of course, our number is 895-3030. That's 895-3030, and we'll do that a little bit later on. Kevin, tell us a little bit about how long you've been a private investigator, how you got started in it, and your credentials, because I think we need to give that background to people before we start.
Oh, absolutely. I've been doing private investigations for about 23 years. And when people hear the term private investigator, they automatically think of cheaters. Mm-hmm. And to tell you, honestly, less than 0.1% of my business is dealing with the private sector. I deal with companies, with corporations, with attorneys, insurance companies, people of that nature. Everything I deal with is things that are going to be going to court. Mm-hmm. And so doing this for over 23 years, my business has been very blessed, and we continue to grow each and every year. We currently are in 5 different states. We work in 5 different states, plus I do cases nationwide doing consulting work. So when I first got into this, I wanted to go and become an attorney. I went back to school after being out in the world for so many years,
yeah.
In the secular world. And I was a rock and roll DJ, mm-hmm. and Randy and I remember those days back
Absolutely.
in the day,
Mm-hmm.
And God had bigger and better things for me. So I think all these years that I was doing DJ work and things that like that, working in nightclubs and running them and things like that, it all put me to this point where I'm at now. Because when I do go out and present, I share my story, mm-hmm. and then I'm educating a different audience, or I'm motivating a different audience, because a lot of my work is criminal defense work, mm-hmm. and I truly feel that that's a ministry of sorts. Because if you think about this, we're the voice for the voiceless, and I always tell people, what greater, commission can one person have than to have another person's life in their hands? Mm-hmm. And a lot of cases I work on are death penalty cases. I have a person's life in my hands, and to have that commission, to stand up when society has turned their back on that person and given up on that person, because we all believe what basically everybody says on the streets or what the media is portraying or anything like that. And it's for people, like myself and other people around the country that will stand, that watch for that person and verify information and not just make these assumptions, because assumptions gets everybody in trouble.
Right.
So people always say, what's your purpose in life? I know what my purpose is. I'm mm-hmm. here, and that's what I do each and every day. That I look for the facts. I seek the truth. Whether it's good or bad or ugly, it makes me no difference. I just have to find the facts, to mm-hmm. help whoever my client is at that time, whether mm-hmm. it's an attorney, a law firm, or a big corporation or something.
That's great. So basically, Mark, he's going to be using his skill sets
yes.
of being a private investigator and be using that on his research of the Bible and current events and Bible prophecy and different things that are going on around us today, and try to make sense and really show mm-hmm. us what some of that means, and things that we need to be mindful of and need to be thinking about, need to be praying about.
Exactly.
In our own lives.
And, the thing is, there's so much Bible prophecy out there, and you can go to the Bible and read it and then see what the current events are going on. But as you mentioned, Randy, it's a whole different perspective from Kevin's point of view. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be awesome this morning.
It sure
when
is.
we get started here in just a few moments.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it, Jesse?
It sure will, Randy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Glad you're here.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, Jesse, what do we have as far as breakfast and lunch today at Wayne City High School today? What do you got for us?
Well, for breakfast, they'll be serving oatmeal with a chocolate chunk muffin, chilled fruit and juice with milk, or the choice of cereal, whole wheat toast and jelly, chilled fruit and juice with milk. For lunch, they're going to be serving a taco salad, a black bean salad with fresh fruit and the choice of milk, or a fajita chicken wrap, black bean salad with fresh fruit and the choice of milk.
All right, that sounds like pretty good food today.
Yeah, taco salad or a fajita chicken wrap. I don't know. Pretty good choices there.
Sounds pretty good to me, either one.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything going on sports-wise today for the schools?
All right, well, there's a quick announcement that for the Wayne City Indians, there was no game yesterday.
Okay.
All there was practice. So.
Gotcha. All right.
Okay.
And all day there will be the FCCLA Pampered Chef fundraiser from today to September 29th. And finally, from 3:25 to 5 p.m., volleyball practice.
All right, so they're staying ready, preparing for the next game then, right?
That's right.
All right. Yeah, Randy, we're going to come back and visit more with Kevin, and Jesse will be with us till 8 o'clock, so we'll get started when we come back here.
Absolutely.
In just a little bit, as the Vine Morning Show will continue here on this Wednesday at Real Life Radio. We encourage you to stay tuned. Welcome back those that are watching on our YouTube channel and also on cable TV channel 15 this morning. Welcome back. It's the Vine Morning Show, and Randy, our special guest, Kevin McLean, with us this morning, and an interesting discussion from the eyes of a private investigator, Randy.
That's right. We're taking a look at a lot of things from the perspective of a private investigator. Let's turn to our super intern here, Jesse. Jesse, have you ever met a real live private investigator until today?
I have not, just until today. And I thank you, Kevin.
You're very welcome, Jesse.
That's awesome. Kevin McLean is with us. He's from Centralia. He's been a private investigator practicing in many different states for a long, long time. But he goes way back. He and I go way back in secular radio days years ago, and actually used to DJ weddings and stuff many, many years ago, too, back in the day. And, of course, Mark, you were in secular radio a long time ago, too. So that's kind of the background of Kevin, but he's been a private investigator for a long, long time. And you've developed an interest in things that are happening around us right now, current events, Bible prophecy, and things such as that. And you've looked at it now thoroughly for a long, long time from the eyes and perspective of private investigator. And I guess in one way, looking at this month of September, you can say that this is certainly going to be a September to remember.
Absolutely. You talk about looking at Bible prophecy. I started looking at this when I was 5 years old.
Wow.
My grandfather was a General Baptist preacher, Reverend J.V. Clifton, and I was always fascinated by Revelations, always. And then here, all these years later, here we are. 30% of the Bible is about Bible prophecy. And a lot of people don't understand it, or they're scared of it, and they want to ignore it, So I'm hoping today that this will kind of shed some light on some things with people to kind of look at it from a different perspective, because, and I know this was God guiding me through all this stuff, because, I'm like anybody else. I don't understand these things, but in the latter days, people are going to see these things, and the knowledge is going to be increased for us to understand these things, because it is that time. We are there. I mean, there is no doubt about it in my mind that we are there. And I think by the end of this presentation, you'll probably understand why I'm saying what I'm saying. I think to understand Bible prophecy, we have to go back to look at a few different things. One of the things that really has not gotten a lot of attention around the world, even in the Christian world for the most part, and I thought this is something that I think really needs to be brought out, is on June 30th. And this is a few days after, the first signing of the Iran deal. There was a star that was shown, the Bethlehem star. It hadn't been seen in over 2,000 years. Now, as an investigator, I'm always looking at different facts and different information. We know this is a fact, right? Because it happened. Several people saw it. Unfortunately, around here it was cloudy, so I couldn't see it. But you got to start saying, okay, this has not been seen in 2,000 years. Why? God has a reason for everything he does. Why is he showing us this star? The last time this star was shown was to announce the birth of Jesus. And you know that the Magi that went and traveled, the wise men, they traveled for quite a long time to get to Bethlehem and Jerusalem. Okay? As a matter of fact, they speculate, it wasn't the interstates back then, so they speculate it took a little while, maybe 2 or 3 months. Now, this is just a question that I have that I pose to the listeners out there and the viewers, is if it took 3 months approximately for them to get to see the birth of Jesus, 3 months from now, we're into September, would he be announcing something else maybe? It's just something to plant a seed to start thinking about. I think to go back to understand Bible prophecy, we need to understand about God's chosen people. Okay? That's the Jewish people. Now, believe it or not, 90% of the churches in America believe in replacement theology, which means basically that the church replaced Israel. Well, that means the remnant church, the 10% that's left that truly believes Israel is God's chosen people, and I can attest to you, they are God's chosen people. They're the ones that he talks about in Revelations, that he's dealing with in Revelations. It's not about the Christian people and things like that, because we're raptured out of here. Okay? They are God's chosen people, but 90% of the country believes in replacement theology. I can give you two percentages here real quick, which is kind of scary. 0.08% is how many new Christians come in, become Christians in America. Now I'll give you another percentage. 19.6% of new Christians come in. Do you know what country that is each year? That's Iran.
Wow.
19.6% in Iran become Christians. I mean, it's an underground network, but God is talking to people. They're having visions. They're having dreams, not just, within the Middle Eastern countries, but all around the world. Rabbis are seeing things and talking about things right now as we speak. So we need to look back at what God said. And we go all the way back to Genesis, where he talks about signs and seasons. Now, as you understand signs and understand seasons, it's not what God means. He talks about signs being a signal, and seasons referencing like an event, or some kind of appointment of time. And he said, you'll be seeing signs in seasons. And you've seen signs and seasons. I can't tell you how many blood moons I've seen. Where I live I live on a lake, so I see the moon come up every night, and I've seen numerous blood moons besides the ones that have been referenced in different books and different things like that.
Yeah. Right.
And those blood moons are significant, especially as they relate to Israel. Israel is the only nation that basically was appointed by God. That's the only nation that was appointed by God. And so we got to look at the Jewish feast to really understand Bible prophecy. And like I say, this kind of enlightened me about this, because every feast is significant, okay? That everything God deals with, he deals with through his feast, because those feasts are not the Jewish feast. These are feasts of the Lord, okay? And he says, make these a holy convocation to me. Convocation means a rehearsal, okay? Now, these people have been rehearsing these different things for how many years now? 2,000 years almost?
Right.
Approximately? A matter of fact, I'll talk about this here in a little while, the Torah calendar, okay, that's the Jewish calendar, puts us right now, and there's different people have different perspectives on this, but we're right at 6,000 years. Now, 6,000 years. God is, everything God does is, he does in numbers. Okay, and that's what I want to kind of share with you also here today about these numbers. And 7 is a significant number to God, and we'll kind of go through that. But talking about the feast, every feast is representative. As a matter of fact, the first 4 feasts have been fulfilled when Jesus came here. The first feast was Passover. Okay, that's Feast of Passover. It's basically when the Jewish people were got out of Egypt.
Right.
Okay, well then we know on Passover, actually at the time that they were slaughtering the lamb for Passover, when Jesus was crucified, the exact same time. So the Feast of Passover was basically when Jesus was here. That one was fulfilled. Then you have the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is another indication of Jesus when he's in the grave, all right, where it basically shows that there's no decay of the body. Then you have the next feast, and these are all spring feasts, is the Feast of First Fruits, which is representative of Jesus and his resurrection. Then the fourth feast in the spring season is the Feast of Pentecost, which happened 50 days after Jesus' resurrection, which basically created the church as we know it today. So those first 4 feasts have been fulfilled. Now that leaves 3 remaining feasts.
Right.
And those feasts are starting this weekend. There's 3 feasts left that need to be fulfilled. Okay? The feast that is coming up this weekend, actually I believe it's on the 14th, is called basically, and I always butcher this name, but Rosh Hashanah, also known as the Feast of Trumpets. The second feast, which is going to be on September 23rd, which we'll go in more detail about this in a little bit, is known as the Day of Atonement. It's known as Yom Kippur. Then the final feast is on September 28th, which is known as the Feast of Tabernacles. All right, and that's when, of course, the last blood moon is supposed to be seen. So we got to talk about these 3 remaining feasts and try to understand a little bit, because, like I say, God's all about numbers. All right, and we talk about the significance of 7. A lot of your listeners and viewers have heard and probably read the book by Jonathan Cahn, Mystery of the Shemitah.
Right.
All right. And the Shemitah just to kind of educate people about the Shemitah, is basically God basically told Moses and his people basically 6 years will you work. On the 7th year, you're basically the land will rest, you will rest, all debts will be forgiven. Okay, that is a blessing to the countries that are abiding by His commandments and things like that. So it can be a blessing, but it can also be a curse. All right. So when you start looking at our country that was founded upon godly principles, and now where we're at in this day and age, we go back and you start counting 7 years. Let's go back to, we talk about September 2001. We know what happened on September 11th, 2001,
Sure.
right?
Right.
Okay. 9/11, right? A few days after that, we had a stock market crash also.
Right.
Now, let's go forward 7 more years. Keep it in your mind, 7
Right.
years. This is Shemitah year, 2008. What happened? The stock market crashed again. How many points did the stock market go down? 777 points.
Yeah.
7. Okay? These things are significant. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up.
No.
And this is all factually based. Like I say, this is not speculation or conjecture on my part. These are facts that have been found.
Sure.
Okay? Now, let's speed forward. Last Monday, remember we had another stock market crash? How many points was it down that time? 888. Now, what is significant about the number 8 in the Bible? It's a sign of new beginnings. Okay? I think it's a warm-up to what's going to happen next. All right? And that comes up to, we're going to talk about September 13th, 14th, the Feast of Trumpets. Now, when we talk about the rapture, right? Some of the things, and like I say, I am not putting dates, I'm not putting times, but I'm just going to give you information that you can take and think about for yourself.
Sure.
The Feast of Trumpets, also known as Rosh Hashanah, is when the last trump of the rapture, it's in Corinthians 1, verse 15, is blown. See, in the Feast of Trumpets, there is 100 blows of the trumpet. And the last blow, the 100th blow, is known as the last trump. All right. Also, the Feast of Trumpets is known as the longest day because they can't identify when the day starts. So no man knoweth the day nor the time.
Exactly.
Okay? So that is coming up this, at the end of course, tying into the end of the Shemitah also, which is coming up on the 13th and the 14th. The Feast of Trumpets is also known as the wedding of the Messiah, and the church is the bride of Christ, and the rapture is when the church is caught up into heaven to be wed with Christ. The Feast of Trumpets happens on the new moon, which is 29.5 days after the last one, and meaning it might occur on the 29th or it may occur on the 30th. Nobody knows for sure. And as was referred to before, of that day or hour, no man knows, is expression referring to this feast. A lot of people speculate Feast of Trumpets could be part of the rapture. Am I saying it's happening this weekend? I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying we need to start understanding the signs and the times because everything is significant in God's timetable, and it deals with His holy feasts. These aren't Jewish feasts; these are His feasts, and there's a reason that He has these feasts. So we look at the fact that we have this Feast of Trumpets coming up, tying in exactly to the time of the Shemitah, cycle coming. Now, what's important about this Shemitah cycle is it's not just any, because every 7 years there's what they call the Shemitah, which is the 7th year where is either, the country will be blessed or be cursed depending upon how they are basically obeying, God's commandments. This is not just any Shemitah. This is what they call a super Shemitah, which means it's 7 times 7 Shemitahs. In other words, this is like the 50th. So what happens when you have a Shemitah in this type of year, it's known as a Jubilee year, which these things don't occur too often at all right? So this is not only just a Shemitah, but it's a very significant super Shemitah Jubilee year. Also on that date, there will be a solar eclipse, which usually in God's signs, we talk about this again, that the blood moons are significant to Israel. The eclipses and things dealing with the sun are significant with the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's where we're at with these Feast of Trumpets. Now, we move forward. The dates become very important because you've got the Shemitah that ends, basically over the weekend. All right, so that means Wall Street starts on the 14th.
Right.
Now, the next important date in this coming next week is the 17th, September 17th. What's significant about this is that the UN will reconvene, and the speculation is that France is going to make basically a declaration that they basically declare Palestine a state.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now, Israel is God's chosen promised land.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you a little bit of factual basis, what God has done in the past when you start messing with his people. Let's go back
That's right.
to September 11th, 2001.
Mm-hmm.
The day before, which most people do not know this, that the president at that time was George Bush, and he had made a pact basically that was going to decrease the size of Israel. Well, you know what happened the next day? Okay, we all know about that.
Yeah.
So let's move forward. In August 2005, George Bush was also in office, and he had made a deal basically with that prime minister at that time to basically expel 9,500 Jewish settlers from the West Bank. They were just literally kicking them out. Well, within 7 days' time of that happening, do you know what came on America? There's a little thing known as Hurricane Katrina. It literally came from nowhere. And guess what? There's 9,500 people displaced out of the West Bank. You know how many people got displaced in Hurricane Katrina? Probably about 10 times that amount.
Exactly.
You know? So my point being is God doesn't sit around when you start messing with his people. So you've got this thing happening where they're going to declare Palestine as a state. And it's interesting about Palestine. We hear Palestinians and things like that. And actually, what they really are, when you start doing the research and the history, they're really the Philistines. And we remember a Philistine known as Goliath, and that there's always been these fights and things like that. So this has been something that's been going on forever. All right? So we look at that date, as far as in regards to the 17th. All right? So that's when the UN reconvenes. Now, we move forward because September 18th is going to be a really big day for Christians. There's actually a group that's going to be holding the thing in Sandy Point, Idaho, basically as a World Day of Prayer, trying to basically get us back where we're supposed to be. God says, if my people, will get on their knees basically and repent, I'll hear them from heaven and I will save their land. And so they're trying to do that.
Number of churches are trying to schedule events like that, even here locally.
And I think it's important that we do that. Because, like I say, these events that are starting to happen are, the dates are just lining up. The 23rd. The 23rd, you can go on YouTube, you can go on all kinds of different internet things, and you're going to see all kinds of different speculations and assumptions and things like that. But here's what we do know for a fact. We know on September 23rd is Yom Kippur, also known as the Day of Atonement, all right? And that this is going to be I believe it's the 70th, okay, where the Super Jubilee starts on Yom Kippur. Now, also on the 23rd of September, we have the Pope coming to America, actually coming to the White House. He's coming to the White House. He is the 266th Pope. He will be here on the 266th day of the year. Now, 266 is an interesting number because 266 is actually the entire period of what they call gestation, which means the birth. So a lot of people are speculating something new is going to be birthed. We don't know what it's going to be, but something is significant with that timetable. You've got him coming to the White House. The next day, he is making a presentation to Congress, the entire Congress. The next day after that, he goes and presents to the United Nations on the 25th. The thing he's going to be presenting on is a thing called Agenda 2030. Agenda 2030 is basically what we refer to more or less the New World Order. Okay, where we're going to be talking about how we're going to have peace for everybody and everybody's going to be equal. And this is going on. I mean, the things, what amazes me is our friends out there that are still on the fence post, so to speak. It's like, there is no other book, there's no other thing in the world that you can get that's going to foretell the future.
Right.
And I've got it right here that I can share with you and show you. These things have already been talked about. They're all mentioned in the Bible. And
Yes.
now you're seeing all these things happen right before our very eyes. I mean, it is just like, oh my God. I mean, it just blows me away because I'm like, am I in a dream? Because all these things that our parents and our grandparents and everybody had told us about, we are that generation.
Yeah.
We are totally that generation. And, Israel was created in 1948. And God says a generation is approximately 70 years. If you're healthy, 80 years. So in essence, depending on who you believe on the calendar, we're right there.
Yeah.
We're that chosen generation. And all these things will come to pass because he says to them that this generation shall not pass until all these things, are seen. So here we are up to the 23rd, 24th, the 25th. Then we get into the 28th. The 28th is the Feast of Tabernacles. Okay, Feast of Tabernacles is also basically a representation of what we call the millennial reign. Also at the time, the 28th is when you see the final blood moon of the Tetrad. The Tetrad is the 4 blood moons that have been shown this time around, consistent with a Jewish feast. Now, the next time you will see this like this, you know how many years it's going to be? 500 years. This final blood moon will be seen in Jerusalem, and it's going to be what they call a super moon. It's going to be 19% bigger than the normal moons. So you see all these different things lining up, and
Right.
these are dates that, events are happening, and there is times that now we need to see, because God's saying, look, I'm going to show you the times, I'm going to show you the signs, the seasons, and it's here.
Yep.
I mean, so I think these are things that
We all need to be paying attention.
Yeah,
we
we
certainly
sure
do.
do.
Fascinating discussion this morning. We got to break briefly for some news here, but Kevin's going to stay with us. We've got more coming up in the next half hour. You certainly want to stay tuned here.
That is correct, Randy.
On 105.5 and 9.9, The Vine. 90.9, The Vine.
Good morning and welcome back to the Vine Morning Show. Here we are on a Wednesday morning. I'm Mark. It's great to have you along this morning. We welcome those that are watching on our YouTube channel this morning and also on TV channel 15. Welcome back. We have a special guest in studio with us this morning. It's our friend Kevin McLean, private investigator from Centralia, who's offering his Bible prophecy through the eyes and perspective of a private investigator. And, Kevin, you were talking earlier about the word feast, which is God's appointed time. And the book of Romans chapter 11, verse 15 talks about, for if their rejection brought reconciliation to the world, what will their acceptance be but life from the dead?
absolutely.
And it's so important because, as you mentioned earlier, God gives us signs in the sky. We're always told to watch for these signs in the sky from God. You mentioned the Star of Bethlehem, the blood moons, and something interesting. The other day, my wife and I were coming home from Du Quoin, and as the moon was rising, it was blood red at that point in time. And, that's a sign from God.
Absolutely. I've seen more blood moons, than I've ever seen in my lifetime. I mean, I know everybody knew about the 4 blood moons. Everybody's been talking about that. But to see the other blood moons, it's like there's a reason that he's doing all this. He's trying to get our attention, I mean, like I say, his signs are signals. They're signals. It's saying, hey, something is going on. Something's coming up. I'm just trying to let you know. I'm trying to warn you and give you a heads up.
And you mentioned Jonathan, rabbis. The rabbis have really been hitting it hard, especially Jonathan Kahn has
Yes.
been really talking about Bible prophecy. Perry Stone is another one that's been really talking about it, and John Hagee as well.
Exactly.
And there's many more out there, but they have really been pushing hard that we need to be watchful to the sky.
Absolutely. And when you even have rabbis over in Israel that are now talking about different visions and revelations that they're having, it's time. It's a wake up call.
Mm-hmm.
That we are definitely in those times that we need to understand what's going on. I mean, God, like we talked about last hour, He's all about numbers. He's all about numbers, and because if you think about it, what was it in 6 days? He created everything, right?
Yes.
Seventh day He rested. Yeah. So, and 1 day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is as 1 day, to the Lord. So when you start looking at the numbers and take each year, take a year as in reign of for 1,000 years. So if you look at 1,000 years, the first 1,000 years, the most significant event in that was Adam and Eve, right? The second 1,000 years, year 2000, was the Noah's flood. The third 3,000 years would be about Abraham. The fourth one would be dealing about Jesus. The fifth, which is the 5,000 years, talks about the church. And then 6, which is where we're at, is basically where He created man. And we're supposed to basically fill the earth, right? And that's what we've done. And if you look at the Torah calendar, which is, the Jewish calendar, it talks about 6,000 years. In other words, God's got a 7,000-year plan, if you will. We're there in that 6,000 year. I mean, depending on what calendar you're looking at and stuff like that, we're right there in that area of 6,000 years. And we mentioned about numbers, that 7 is significant to God. Do you know how long the Jewish wedding feast is? Guess what? It's 7 days. But you didn't know that, did you? And that is significant when you start talking about the marriage supper of the Lamb. Because 7 days, 7 years. What happens in 7 years also? We talk about what's called the tribulation. So I just found that out last night. I thought, oh wow, that's a new one for me that I didn't realize. But we're in these times. I mean, we're there, and that I think we need to sound the trumpet to let people know that look, these things that as you're seeing them, don't get freaked out. If you got things in your life you need to get right, then get them right. But this has to come. Because this is what God said would happen.
Right.
Jesus talked about this, saying, look, in these days, you're going to see all these things. But, look up, because your redemption's coming, and that's what we need to start doing. But we also need to be a good witness to our family, to our friends, to other loved ones that may be on that fence post, or if they spark a question about something, because there's a lot of different ways we can talk about this now, because there's so many other things happening out there in the world that I think for the most part, they're clueless about.
Look at just what happened recently in the news, Kevin, with, what was it, China that was, or somewhere that was just not too far off the coast of Florida that was practicing maneuvers or something with a submarine that was just recently over there.
Right.
China's building their military. Russia's building their military even more and more. Gog Magog gets talked about in the Bible.
Do you know where Russia's at now? Russia is now developed a forward operating base in Syria.
Wow. And that's just happened.
That just happened last week. Yeah. And what it talks about in Ezekiel, where he will basically pull a hook into his jaw to pull him down there into Israel. Because, and the interesting thing about that Gog-Magog war, there will not be a single bullet fired by Israel. God says, I will take care of these people myself. I mean, you're going to see the mighty power of God when this happens. And everything is being put together right now. I believe that one of the things that's probably going to spark and get this thing probably going, escalating, is you've got Hamas, Hezbollah. They've always been lobbing rockets from over in Syria into Israel. Well, now, because Israel, they will not put up with that. They'll go back and attack them. Well, Russia's right up there by them now, So what happens if accidentally they hit something with Russia, something like that. So this stuff is happening. Matter of fact, Russia is now sending one of their super subs down to the coastline outside of Syria. And this has got 20 nukes on it, 200 ICBMs on this. This is a super sub, and they're moving it down there. Matter of fact, Putin had said that he's given them permission, any American interest, to basically they got permission to do what they need to do. This stuff is happening. you look at other things. Jade Helm 15.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I'm glad you did, because
Yes.
a lot of people, and it's not being really covered in the news,
No.
and it's at all, and a lot of people don't know what that is.
Yeah. Jade Helm 15 is a military exercise that is actually going on right now in our country. For the most part, it's down concentrated in the southwest the United States. Once again, you can go on YouTube, type in Jade Helm 15, and you're going to see all kinds of different things happening that our military is doing, within our own country. And people say, oh, that's just, speculation. No, I actually seen railroad cars full of military equipment going past, my hometown of Centralia, going past. I actually took pictures of them, because I know people say, oh, come on, that's this conspiracy theorist and all this other stuff. But something's going on. There's a reason why this is happening at this moment. And they're supposed to stop on September 15th. That's supposed when it's supposed to, be completed.
Sure.
A lot of people speculate sometimes, are they there for another reason?
Mm-hmm.
We can start talking about the FEMA camps and the Walmarts that are being converted into FEMA camps and things of that nature. I mean, this stuff is real. I mean, we got to stop thinking about conspiracy theorists, because these are facts.
I'm glad you mentioned the military movement, because it was just a 3 weeks ago. There was military movement on I-64 and I-57. And where was it going? South. Going south. So that's an indication. And a lot of people don't understand, and they've not read up on Jade Helm 15. And it's actually fact.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. What they did is one of their objectives was to infiltrate communities and basically to blend in with the communities. And, some of the reports I'd read were, of course, we're looking for military vehicles, right? Well, they were using covert equipment like delivery vans and delivery trucks and hay bales, farmers would be driving, but actually they were hidden things to keep, the soldiers hidden, because they were practicing these exercises. Now, if you were to read what their theory is about why they're doing this, is so they can be prepared for these type of events to happen in the future, in other countries. You might recall, too, because when this started happening, when the exercises started going on, that a lot of phone systems all over the country started having problems, that they were shut down for unknown reasons, and no one ever talked about that. Well, and like I say, my speculation would be they were testing the waters to see how can we communicate in the event we can't communicate. In other words, for some reason, our systems are shut down or something like that.
Just recently, there was a major telephone interruption in the 911 lines throughout the country as well. There was major interruptions in that.
Yeah.
And, they were saying telephone trouble. Was it telephone trouble?
Yeah. I think we need to all wake up and start looking at things for what is going on, because this is happening right in front of us. And like I say, the secular media is not covering this stuff. It is just, the only place you're going to find it is people like you and I and other people that are concerned about their country that are reporting on these things. And I think that's why some of it is not evolved the way they wanted it to, because it's kind of like, okay, we caught you, because there was some reason why they were doing all this. And they were calling like certain states hostile territories. I mean, which made no sense to me at all about that. But you just need to look at that. Jade Helm 15.
Mm-hmm. It's very interesting. Yeah, you're exactly right. Wow. Good stuff this morning with Kevin. And it's all out there. We just have to get into it and read about it.
Sure. You go back, everybody has watched the Ten Commandments, right? And they've seen Moses when he basically went there to Pharaoh and cast all the different plagues, against Egypt. Well, in Russia right now, they have a serious plague going on, locust.
Mm-hmm.
Locusts. Now, locusts were used back in the Bible. They have a serious plague of locusts going on right now. So those type of things, like, wait a second, I've read about that before. Or were you aware, and you won't hear this in our secular media again, that a few days after the Iran deal was signed, guess what happened? A meteor hit Iran. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm. I'd read that.
And it is 165 degrees over there. 165 degrees. We remember there was a meteor that hit Russia, and there was a meteor just the other day that hit that was seen over in Thailand, that hit over there. So when you start seeing these signs, I mean, these are facts. This isn't something that we're just making up or something like that. You have to do your research, though, because some of these things you're not going to find through your secular media sources. They're just not going to report on it. You know.
Here's something else too, Kevin. And again, like you said, people need to do the research. But strange sounds coming from the sky, like it sounds like the shofar.
Absolutely. You know what I say when I've listened to some of these? Because you type in "strange sounds 2015," and they've been going on for several years. It sounds like a band is warming up. You know, and you'll hear these eerie sounds. I mean, they're this amazing, the sounds that you're hearing, and people, you know, with their video cameras out, they're looking around like, where are these sounds coming from? And even some of them, they talk about the shaking, how they can feel the shaking from it. You just can't make up these things.
No.
I mean, especially when you're getting them from all over the world. It isn't just like it's coming from one little town or community or city. It's coming in from all over the world, you know, these different things.
Yeah, also look at what's going on in the country as far as, out in California, wildfires, places that have never seen flooding before, earthquakes that are rapidly going off that are not being covered, and it's all over the country.
Yes. Well, we just had an earthquake the other day over in right outside St. Louis.
Yeah, Imperial, Missouri, where it was at like 2.5, I believe.
And you had one over here by Fairfield, last year or so?
Yeah, not too long ago. And down around Memphis, Tennessee, they had one down in that area along the New Madrid Fault, which we all know what can happen with the New Madrid Fault if that thing ever breaks open.
Absolutely. So you see all these different signs because, as far as with, when God starts basically trying to get our attention with judgments and things with his wrath, you look at the droughts in California, you look at the flooding, you look at the various, tornadoes we've had at different times where we've had multiple tornadoes at one time, and then you're looking at these earthquakes in diverse places. I mean, it talks about that. When you see all these things, it's like they're like the birth pains.
Exactly.
The
redemption draweth near.
We are seeing all that stuff happen right in front of our eyes.
We want to open up the phone lines here in a little bit, Kevin. When we come back, if you don't mind, if anybody's got any questions for you, and we'll do that, 895-3030, and we'll do that here in just a few moments. We're going to come back and talk more with Kevin McLean from Centralia this morning. He's a private investigator, and he's been studying Bible prophecy from the perspective of a private investigator, and he's put forth some interesting numbers this morning if you've been paying close attention to what Kevin has been talking about. We'll come back and talk more with Kevin here in a moment on the Vine Morning Show.
Ministry worldwide. Find out more by visiting our website at wvyn.org.
And we welcome you back to the Vine Morning Show. Here we are on this Wednesday morning, and welcome those on our YouTube channel this morning and also on cable TV channel 15. As we have a special edition of the Vine Morning Show this morning, as we're with our friend Kevin McLean from Centralia, who's a private investigator. And you heard Kevin's story earlier about how long he's been a private investigator, and he's sharing biblical prophecy from the perspective, the eyes of a private investigator. And Kevin, in case we have any new listeners, whatever you want to share over again, I encourage you to do, and we're getting a lot of good feedback this morning. As you said this earlier, we need to open our eyes. We need to wake up.
Absolutely. We need to, as I say, he that has, ears to hear and eyes to see, to wake up, because God's showing us the signs, the signs. I mean, these are signals. These are different events that are happening right in front of our eyes. Mm-hmm. One of the most significant things that's going to be coming up here in just a little while was on September 17th. This whole presentation that I kind of came up with was called the September to Remember. We talk about, the Shemitah cycle ending on the 14th. Okay, that is this September 14th. That is like how many days away right now?
No, this weekend.
5 days away.
Right.
And there's going to be a solar eclipse. A solar eclipse is always a significant sign by God about judgment upon the world. Okay, 7-year cycles with God. 6 years. Well, he created the world and everything else. In 6 years, the seventh day he rested. And what he did is he made convocations with, his people, and said, look, 6 years you'll work. On the seventh year, you're going to rest. Basically, you're going to forgive all debts, and it's going to be a blessing as long as you keep my commandments. Mm-hmm. However, if you do not, then this thing can be a curse. And we've seen this with our country going back to, September 2001 with 9/11. You move forward to, this September of 2008 one of the worst stock market crashes ever. 777 points. Now we've got this one coming up. The end of the cycle is coming up on the 14th. We don't know what's going to happen. This is not just a normal, what they call Shemitah cycle, but this is a super Shemitah cycle. This is a 50th, 7 times 7. This is a 50th. So it's very significant in God's timetables. Now you go forward in September 17th. I don't think I brought this up earlier, but September 17th is significant with our country because that is the final day that our Congress can make a decision about this Iran deal. Although for most, it already seems that this is already a done deal. All right. Now, what is significant from a perspective with biblical prophecy? Hidden in this deal is a thing talking about Iran and how they're going to protect Iran if someone were to attack Iran and try to take out their nuclear reactors. So in essence, what that's kind of meaning is that if Israel, because they fear that they may be building a nuclear bomb to attack them, attacks Iran, then technically our country has to defend Iran. Now, that is breaking covenant with God because God said that I'll bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you, and we've always been the strongest supporter for Israel. We've always had their back, and we've been blessed for all these years, Well, now we're turning our back on Israel. We are totally turning our back on God's chosen people, and we know what happens, when if you're going to curse Israel, then we're going to have some issues. We're going to have some things that are going to happen, and Israel will be on their own. But you know what? Israel will be fine because they've got God's going to fight their fights for them. Matter of fact, there was an article recently in the paper where they were talking about the other side. I think it was somebody from Hezbollah or something like that, saying, we fire our rockets at you guys, but your God knocks them out of the air or sends them off target. This is in secular media where they're talking about we're shooting it here, but it ends up over here. And we don't have any explanation except for the fact that your God is doing this. He's stepping in and doing this. And if you want to see some great stories of miracles, of God stepping in to protect Israel, just Google the 1967 Six-Day War and type in miracles of Six-Day War. It talks about the other side seeing angels, and there would be dust storms where it would blow and show all the mines that had been planted and things of that nature. So, I mean, God will get our attention, in different ways, and He will protect Israel, even though we are breaking covenant, which is one of the worst things you can do. As far as in God's eyes.
Right.
So people say, are we really in the latter days? I have that a lot of people questioning that. A lot of people say, I don't want to know about it. I don't care about it. You're just a conspiracy theorist or whatever the case may be. But I found this interesting article. We're familiar with Indiegogo and different types of fundraising sites that people, when they got an idea or something like that, and they want to raise money for it. Well, this one here is a fundraising site. Are you ready for this? Because what's really good about this, folks, is Mark doesn't know what I'm getting ready to throw at him, okay? So I'm going to see the expression on his face, too. The third temple in Jerusalem.
Wow.
Yeah. Will be a house of prayer for all nations. It says August 2015. Hey, gosh, this happened last month.
It just happened, yeah.
Our bold campaign is to raise $100,000 for the preparation of architectural plans for the third temple has been successful thanks to the hundreds of people who have supported the effort. Yeah, it's an Indiegogo campaign to rebuild the third temple, and that is significant in biblical prophecy for that to happen. And here it is right in front of us that this is going on. I mean, it's there. You can look at the Bible. It foretells the future. It's the only book you'll ever buy in the world that's going to foretell the future, and you can challenge it. You can test it because it's going to show it right there for you. Here it is once again. We talk about the third temple being built. One of the things I think I failed to mention last hour, too, dealing with the temple and dealing with Jerusalem, is one of the other speculations they've got going on this month is whenever they go before the United Nations, meaning our president, the Pope, and everybody else, is there's going to be a presentation made that they're going to try to request to split Jerusalem, to make it into an East and West Jerusalem. So this will then allow, basically, the Palestinians to be able to celebrate, at the Dome of the Rock, but then also the Christians and the Jews to celebrate, and this is peace for everybody then. Well, we're equal. You're splitting Jerusalem. That's God's holy city. Once again, you're going to see something, I think, significant happen over all that. Last Friday, President Obama met with the Saudi Arabia, the main guy, the sheikh. And one of his comments he made was about how he now feels that this Iran deal will give peace and stability to the Middle East. What does it say about peace in the Bible? It talks about peace, 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 and then sudden destruction. It's all right there. It's all happening right in front of our eyes. I mean, you just got, prophecy is happening when you just pick up the paper every day. You're reading biblical prophecy right in front of your eyes.
You're exactly right.
It is not like you have to go to the Bible to read it. Just look at the headlines of any major national newspaper, and it's there in front of us. We talk about different dates and how significant they are for this year, this month now that we're into. And another date that is significant is September 23rd. And it is significant in various ways because it is the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur. And we mentioned last hour about how important the Jewish feast days are for God, because these are actually God's holy days. These aren't their holy days. These are God's holy days. And that the September 23rd is the Day of Atonement. It's also the 266th day of the year. The 266th Pope is going to be coming to America to meet with our president. It's also 266 days is a gestation period for the birth of a child. So, but there's another thing that's happening on September 23rd, and I've been trying to get confirmation on this, and I think I finally got it. There's a thing known, a company, they're known as LHC. They are in Cern, Switzerland. Now, what they have developed, and this is going to sound like something out of a bad B-rated movie, but this is real. It is going on. In Cern, Switzerland, they have developed a thing known as a Hadron Collider. Now, that went over my head. I had to read about this. But what it is they have built this whatever you want to call it, a scientific research facility that will take atoms, what we're made out of, molecules and atoms, and what they're trying to do is more or less play God. They are taking these atoms. They've built this circular facility that is about 17 miles.
It's in the Swiss Alps, right?
Yes, it's about 17 miles in a circular facility, and what they will do is they will turn on this basically equipment that it will get up to the speed of light, and then what they'll start doing is colliding these atoms, all right? So they start colliding these atoms, and what happens is they're seeking what they call the God particle. In other words, you'll hear a lot of your basically secular people talk about the Big Bang Theory and how they think that this is how everything was created and things of that nature. So what they're trying to do basically is trying to play God. Now, it gets more important than that, though, and kind of interesting, because where this place is built at is a location where, if you look at the original location, it was a place where the god Apollo was basically, revered, if you will. And Apollo, also in the Greek, is Apollyon. And when you read Revelations, which I'll come back to that here in a little bit, about Apollyon, it talks about the beast, the bottomless pit, and releasing this beast from the bottomless pit, and the beast in the Greek word is known as Apollyon. Now, this thing known as CERN, LHC, the Hadron Collider, there is a lot of controversy about this. and that literally they're trying to play God. I mean, and I tell you, we'll take a break here, but when we come back, I've actually got an interview from one of the researchers, and it will send chills up and down your spine.
And we'll do that. Let's do that after 9 o'clock. You want to do that after 9, Kevin?
Sure.
All right.
Yep.
We're going to do that after 9, and we also want to open up the phone lines here after 9 o'clock, and we'll tell you when to call at 895-3030. If you have a question for Kevin, if you have a concern that you want to address as far as, do you have a question concerning something that he has given you information for this morning, and you want to know more about it, you want to study more about it, we encourage you to call. If you just have a comment, encouraging comment for maybe some of our listeners out there.
Absolutely.
Something that maybe that you want to share, that what's on your heart. You want to give a testimony what you think could be coming in the last days. We want you to, we're not putting a date on anything at all. By no means that's what Kevin is not doing. He has basically giving you the information and the numbers, and we're just telling you we just need to pay attention. We need to wake up here, and we need to get more into the Word of God, because these things are happening right in front of our eyes, as it is a known fact. All right? And we'll do more. We'll come back and talk more with Kevin in the 9 o'clock hour. More to come here on the Vine Morning Show here on this Wednesday at Real Life Radio.
Real faith, real life.
That is from Matt Maher here at Real Life Radio, 105.5 and 90.9 The Vine, the best Christian music for you and your family. Of course, Matt Maher coming to the Benton Civic Center on Friday, October 30th with I Am They and John Geary. Go to our website, wvyn.org, for more information, and even purchase tickets through our website as well. So we hope to see you there. It is just after 9 o'clock, the Vine Morning Show. Here we are on this Wednesday morning. I am Mark, as we're taking a break from our normal activities today, as we have a special guest in studio with us. It's our friend Kevin McLean from Centralia. And good morning, Kevin, and welcome in. And Kevin's a private investigator, and he's been a private investigator for many years, and he works with numbers. As Kevin, you've been around, you know how numbers work. You've seen a lot. You travel all over. Give us a little bit about your background, and so that way people will understand. You're giving us all these numbers and stuff. What are we supposed to look here for?
Oh, absolutely. Thanks, Mark. And once again, it's an honor and a privilege, to be here today, because I've been doing this stuff for about 23 years as an investigator, and I've been presenting and teaching all over the country since about 2004. Done about 35 different states, and as I said earlier this morning, this is my most important presentation I've ever given in my lifetime, and I'm proud that I'll ever give in my lifetime. And as an investigator, when we go out to find information, we're impartial, we're objective, we're finders of facts, we're seekers of the truth. And for me to sit here today and to share with not only the listening audience, but also the viewing audience, my whole reputation, my credibility, my integrity, everything about me is on the line. And so these words that I am speaking and the information I'm sharing is all factually based. It's not my conjecture or my speculation or trying to set dates or times. I'm not trying to do that at all. I'm just trying to give you what is going to happen. I mean, based upon information that is not just coming from the Bible, but from, secular resources as far as the facts. The fact of the matter is September 17th is the final day for Congress to decide whether to sign the deal on Iran. We know that part of that deal involves that we have to protect Iran in case someone attacks them. We know who that would be. That'd be Israel, which means that we're breaking covenant with God. Okay? We also know that in the past, on September 13th and 14th would be the end of what they call the Shemitah year. People heard this term, they say, what does the Shemitah mean? It is something that God basically made an agreement many, many years ago, because it goes back to God's numbers. God's all about numbers. 6 days He made the world. He created man. He put everything, the firmaments in the heavens, the stars, the moon, the sun, everything. He put all these things in. The seventh day He rested. So 6 days, 7 days. So He said, 6 years you'll work, you'll do the things that you would do. On the seventh year you're going to rest. You're going to forgive everybody's debts. You're going to let the land rest. And that's how it's going to be. And I will bless you as long as you obey by my commandments. If you don't, then it will be a curse. We go back to look at our country as we have gone downhill. You go back to September 2001. We know September 11th, 2001, that was the end of a Shemitah year. We know what happened. 9/11 happened on that date. You move forward 7 more years to September 2008. The worst stock market crash in American history happened, okay? How many points did it go down? Are you ready for this? 777 points. Now, let's just go back to about a week or so ago on a Monday morning when China went crazy with their stock market, and then it totally, basically destabilized everybody else around the world. Our market went down 888 points. 888 points. 7, is, basically completion. 8 in God's calendar or his times is basically new beginnings. So we talk about different dates, different times. These things are happening. September 17th, we talk about September 23rd. We'd mentioned last hour about a thing known as CERN. CERN is actually the town in Switzerland where this, what they call a Hadron Collider has been built. And it's for nuclear research is what they're doing with this. And what they're trying to do with this really, they're trying to find what they call the God particle. In other words, they have developed this equipment that can speed these atoms up to the speed of light. The speed of light. And they've built this facility that is like 200 or 300 feet underground. And it has got more magnets that can give more of a gravitational pull than the pull of the Earth.
Oh, my.
And it is so hot. Some speculate, it can reach temperatures of ungodly, like, tens and hundreds of thousands of degrees down underneath there. So they're trying to basically become God. All right? They're trying to find the God particle. They're trying to find a portal. Like I say, this is like the making of a bad B movie if it wasn't real. And they've got this thing, it's supposed to be up to speed. They'll be able to do this again on September 23rd. Now, as I kind of previewed last hour, this is one of their researchers, all right? And this is an interview that he did. And I'm telling you right now, this will send chills up and down your spine. And Mark's never heard this yet either. So this is something that I found doing my research, as a good investigator should do. And this was an interview done. This gentleman's name is Richard Seed, and he's one of the physicists over there in CERN. So I'm going to play this right now for you.
We are going to become gods. Period. If you don't like it, get off. You don't have to contribute. You don't have to participate. But if you're going to interfere with me becoming God, we'll have big trouble. And we'll have warfare.
Wow. That I tell you what, I'm breaking out in a sweat from hearing that. That's scary.
There you go.
I mean, I don't know how else you can explain. I mean, I'll have to have you play that again here in a few moments. But that just, I'm chilled by that. I don't know anybody that wouldn't be.
When I found that interview,
wow,
it once again solidified everything that is going on, that what they're trying to do. This like I say, this is not a movie. This is real. This is happening. It is set to be active again on September 23rd, and this is in CERN, Switzerland. And if you look at the location where this facility was built, it was built at a location where, as they researched this, was basically where they had originally worshipped the goddess Apollo. Okay, when you go backwards with Apollo, in Greek it's Apollyon. In Revelations it talks about Apollyon. Apollyon being the beast that's in the bottomless pit that is released in Revelations. These people were trying to become gods. They were trying to find a portal. You just got to read the articles. It will blow you away. Now, here's something else that I know. I haven't previewed this with Mark yet, but I'm going to show you this. You know what that is there?
Oh, my.
That is the goddess Shiva.
Shiva, yeah. Oh, wow.
And that is the goddess of destruction. And that is outside their headquarters in CERN, Switzerland.
In Geneva, CERN. In Geneva, Switzerland.
Yeah, that is the goddess of destruction, and that is the representative, idol that they have there in Switzerland. Okay, now, another time that there was a goddess of evil that was put on our buildings just a while back, the Empire State Building, Kali, which was another goddess very similar to Shiva.
that.
Yes, was put on our hologram was put on our buildings just a while back.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean that's where our world is at. I mean, you're like, oh come on. I mean, it'd be a great movie, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But this is actually happening. This stuff is happening right before our very eyes.
There's something, and Laura that's with us on Monday morning, she studies Bible prophecy all the time, and she mentioned an event coming up somewhere in the southern states. It's basically a rock concert worshiping the devil.
It's in Georgia.
Georgia, that's
yes.
it.
Yeah, it's at the end of this month.
Wow. Again, another event in September.
Yes.
I can't recall the name of it offhand,
Yeah.
but can you play that audio again, Kevin,
Sure.
for us?
Sure.
And I've got the volume up high here, and it just really sent a cold chill down my spine, and I like broke out into a sweat.
Yeah,
it's scary. It's an eerie audio.
Yeah, what you're getting ready to hear again is one of the physicists over there at the LHC facility, the Nuclear Research Facility in CERN, Switzerland, and we're talking about this Hadron Collider that is going to be finally active again, and they're seeking what they call the God particle, where they speed up to the speed of light. I mean, this is incredible what they're doing, and then they're colliding, these atoms together and trying to create a portal into another dimension. I mean, if it wasn't like real, I think, well, I'm watching Twilight Zone or something like that. But here it is. This is an actual interview that I found of one of their physicists, and his name is Richard Seed.
We are going to become gods. Period. If you don't like it, get off. You don't have to contribute. You don't have to participate. But if you're going to interfere with me becoming God, we'll have big trouble. And we'll have warfare.
So basically, he's saying we're going to become gods, period. And if you interfere with me, it's going to be big trouble. We will have warfare.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Yeah. That's the type of stuff that should be opening people's eyes of what's going on in the world.
And and the thing is, Kevin, that the media, where's the media at? Where's the coverage at? It's not there.
No, you're not going to see us on any of the secular media whatsoever. You'll never hear that on any other airwaves except for here.
Right here.
Because it's just, these are the type of things, it's like, it's not relevant to them, it's not important, it doesn't mean anything, But I'm telling you, even Stephen Hawking, A Brilliant Mind, the movie made called A Brilliant Mind about him, he is very concerned about this project that they're doing because of the implications. I mean, this thing could create a nuclear holocaust if this thing does something or explodes or something of that nature when they're doing this. So you just need to look on the internet, Google CERN, and just look at this because, like I say, I didn't understand it, and I kept on hearing about this, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do my research, as a good investigator would, and this is some of the information that I've found out about.
Wow. Hey, if you have a question this morning or you'd like to voice your opinion or concern, call us up at 895-3030, 895-3030. We'd love to hear from you this morning. Our phone lines are open right now, 895-3030, and Kevin, and it all is, indication from God. As we said earlier, watch the sky, be watchful, open up, we have to wake up.
Oh, yes. We got to sound the alarm. We got to be there and know that, because you're going to have friends of yours as things start happening. And I truly believe there is going to be a great shaking, which will create a great awakening, because I know myself that I had to get down on my knees or get shook to my knees before I could look up. Same thing's going to happen with other people. They're going to get shook, But God loves us so much, He wants to give us one more chance, to accept His Son, Jesus Christ, and to be there because He loves us so much. He's given us one more chance. He's done this over and over again. But you got to ask yourself, if you were God, how much more would you put up with in our country and what we've done and all the abominations we've done and continue to do each and every day? And as our liberties keep on getting basically taken away from us all the time. And I know there's a lot of controversy even within the Christian community about this Kim Davis, but I take it way past what she was talking about, because eventually each one of us is going to have that same thing presented to us. And what are you going to do when they start challenging you about your faith? What are you going to do?
When they come into a church.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Where's it going to stop? And see, I think that's the thing people understand. They have this emotional reaction, and that's what happens. You get a knee-jerk reaction to something. You don't think about the big implications here, And I'm, Mike Huckabee hit it on the nail on the head. Where does this stop? Do they start going to churches? Do they start going to schools? Where does this stop? And do they start controlling what you can and can't, talk about and things of that nature? We're all going to get hit with this at some point, and you're going to have to be bold and stand up, like Paul. And you're going to have to stand on your word and stand on and be faith, in your faith walk, because it's going to happen. And I think this is just, put yourself in her shoes, And I'm not saying as far as understanding all the facts about it, so I'm not going to go into the specifics about that. But I'm saying the bigger picture is what I'm talking about, because it is going to be something that we're all going to have to deal with. Just like you see these martyrs, these Christian people all over the world, who would profess their faith in Jesus Christ all the way into the fact that they were basically, beheaded, and they still stood firm on the word, and they did not falter from that. And in the days that will come upon us, Sharia law, which is what you're seeing that they're doing now, is going to be throughout the land. God forbid we're still here at that time, but if we are, we got to stand firm. We got to stand firm on the word and be bold,
Bibles. The Bible itself has been taken out of so many, the schools especially. There was just here recently a band that was pulled off the field, Kevin. I don't know if you heard about this. Somewhere in Georgia, the band was playing, I believe, "How Great Thou Art," and they were pulled off of the stage or off of the football field for playing a Christian song on the football field, and the crowd took it upon themselves to sing it a cappella. And they're standing firm. That's one thing you have to do. You have to stand firm. And they were being persecuted for doing that.
Yeah, you're seeing it right in front of our eyes.
And another thing, too, I read something yesterday. Islam is now coming into the schools in the United States in certain areas now. Islam books are being brought in.
You mentioned that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I say, I mean, all these things, we're just trying to take out. And if you start looking back in our history, that when we start taking prayer out of the schools, Pledge of Allegiance, all those type of things, and now you see what we've created with our society, especially, the younger generation, that they don't have the family unit. They've totally just destroyed the family unit. The kids, for the most part, feel like they've been rejected by everybody, and, to try to educate them and say, hey, I don't, here's what it's all about. Well, most of them have been turned off by the religious world.
Right.
Because face it, and I know we're getting off the subject of prophecy, but the fact of the matter is the religious world says, don't sin, we won't condemn. That ain't what Jesus said. He said, I'm not going to condemn you, don't go sin.
Yeah.
So we all talk about religion, and I say it's not about a religion, it's about a relationship.
And if you do commit a sin, God forgives you, but He also tells you and directs you, go and sin no more.
Yes.
And from that point on, your sin's forgiven. Just don't go back and fall in that same category you were before. You've been washed with the blood of Christ.
Absolutely.
And, and a lot of people think, well, God can't forgive me, but He can. He can. Yeah. And that's what you need to read everything, study the Word of God, get into the Word. And you take these numbers that Kevin's been giving you, take this month and put it all together and study it for yourself. It's all important.
I can relate so well to when I decided to go back to church, get my act together, so to speak, that I was like, okay, when I get my act together, then I'm going to go back to church. Because that's the way we all think, right? Mm-hmm. We got to clean ourselves up. And I pose this question to everybody out there. Do you take a bath before you go take a bath?
Yeah, good question. Good point.
You just come as you are and let Jesus clean you up. You know,
Amen.
He'll meet you at that door at whatever stage in life you're at. And with the things happening right now in our world, there's no greater time than right now to start getting right.
Amen.
You know, and to talk to people, you know, in the community or people that are going to church and things like that. And as the church, we need to be reaching out to people. We need to be there when you hear that moment, when you hear that conversation that alludes to something about the times right now. That's your little window of opportunity to start sharing with them and to start witnessing to them. You know, and that's why I hope with this being broadcast like it is and going on to YouTube, that my friends around the country, I can send this link to them and they can watch it, you know, because they say, hey, you know what? Because as times start happening, trust me, they're going to start wanting answers. They're going to start wanting to say, hey, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Because this isn't what I thought it was. I was content in my own little world, but now all of a sudden things have changed.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why, you know, even like say we had some different dates in mind about when I was going to come on. And I just felt prompted to come on this week versus next week.
Exactly, because of Friday being September 11th.
Yes, absolutely.
And very important.
Yep.
All right. Hey, Kevin, thanks a lot for joining us this morning and sharing, you know, biblical perspective or prophecy and from the perspective of a private investigator. As we appreciate you being here this morning here on the Vine Morning Show.
I got one more thing for you.
Absolutely. You go right ahead.
I always love surprising people because they never know what I'm going to do, you know. But, you know, God is all about numbers, and He's all about timetables. And like say, 7, you know, is the day that God rested, you know, and 7 years is the amount of time for the Jewish feast, you know, as far as with the going into the Feast of Trumpets, Yom Kippur, all these different things. They're going to be having all these different feasts, which are God's feast, is what they are. You've got them all coming up September 14th, September 23rd, and September 28th. But I want to show you something here, Mark.
Okay.
Because God sometimes reveals things, you know, they're kind of concealed, but they may be revealed.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to show you something here. The menorah. You familiar with the menorah?
I heard a little bit about it.
Okay, this is a menorah. So,
Okay.
So I'm showing Mark a menorah right now.
I'm going to show it to our camera because we have it
Okay.
on YouTube as well, too, and our Vine television.
Okay.
There you go. There it is.
All right, so let me show you this now.
Okay.
Now,
That's interesting.
I want to show you this here.
Okay.
You know, God instructed Moses to build this.
Okay.
right?
All right.
Now, we're going to count across here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, 7 candlesticks across.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
Now, 7 is the month, the Jewish month, which is actually 9th month for us. Okay?
Okay.
You with me?
I'm with you.
Okay. Now, if we start counting these little marks here,
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
8.
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 9, 23.
Wow. That is amazing. Wow. There again.
There you again.
Wow.
A lot of people talk about September 23rd being a very significant event.
So tell our listeners again if they can Google that. They can Google that and find that as well.
You can find the menorah. You just type in menorah, and what you can do is you can look at the basically the candle stands across, and there's 7.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now the Jewish month of 7 is actually our month of September.
Which is 9.
Right. Which
Okay.
is 9.
Okay.
And then what you do is you count each one of these. I don't know exactly what the term would be, but they're like where it's connected together.
Okay.
All right, you count each one of those. So you count all them up, and then you count the ones down the middle, and it comes to 23. So you've got 9, 23.
Wow.
See, God tries to show us things in different ways, in hidden ways, and that was something that just kind of came to me recently.
Wow. Wow. That is very interesting. And we encourage our listeners and our viewers to, there you go. It's all about educating yourself. Gavin,
Absolutely.
And studying. That's
Yes.
what it's all about.
Yep.
All right. Hey, again, thanks for coming in and
Thank you very
sharing.
much.
And, we've been getting some really great feedback this morning, some text messages. And again, the interview with Kevin is being audio. It's being recorded, the audio version, and it'll also be on our YouTube channel and on TV channel 15. Kevin McLean from Centralia, a private investigator, sharing his perspective, a biblical prophecy from a private investigator. Kevin, thank you for coming in this morning.
It's
Appreciate
been an honor and a privilege, and like I say, I just thank God for allowing me this opportunity.
Amen, amen. And we thank Kevin for being with us this morning here on the Vine Morning Show. And more to come.